Divine timing is never early, never late. It always arrives exactly when it should. When God is preparing to bless a woman with something big, she will learn the art of patience and trust, knowing that her season is coming, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. This kind of patience is not passive waiting, it is active expectancy. It is a confident belief that what has been promised will come to pass, no matter how long it takes. The woman who walks in this divine patience understands that God's timing is perfect, and that every delay is part of a greater design to prepare her for the magnitude of what is coming. Before the blessing manifests in her life, she will go through a period of preparation. This preparation is not random or accidental. It is deliberate and divine. God uses this time to shape her character, to strengthen her faith, and to sharpen her vision. The trials she faces during this season are not punishments but tools of refinement. Like gold tested by fire, she is purified and made ready. The challenges are meant to develop endurance and reveal resilience that she may not have realized she possessed. This is essential because a great blessing demands a great responsibility. It is not given to her to merely enjoy, but to steward with wisdom, humility, and grace. The process she undergoes is as important as the blessing itself. God is not just giving her a gift. He is transforming her into a greater version of herself. The blessing will come not just as an external manifestation, but as an internal elevation. The woman who is about to receive something big will begin to think bigger, dream bigger, and live bigger. She will no longer be confined by the limitations of her past or the opinions of others. Her identity will be rooted in God's purpose for her life. She will see herself through the lens of divine destiny, and this shift in perspective will position her to embrace the blessing fully. In the midst of this transformation, God will begin to send signs and confirmations that the blessing is near. These signs may come in unexpected ways: a chance encounter with a stranger, a sudden opportunity, a door that opens when it seemed closed, or a word of encouragement that arrives just when she needs it most. These are not coincidences but divine appointments. God's communication is often subtle, requiring the woman to be attentive and sensitive to His voice. These signs are His way of reassuring her that the promise is on its way and that she is not alone in the journey. However, as the blessing draws closer, opposition will inevitably arise. The closer she gets to her breakthrough, the more intense the challenges may become. Enemies, whether external or internal, will attempt to discourage her, to steal her joy, and to derail her destiny. But these attacks are not signs that the blessing has failed. Rather, they are tests of her faith and proof of the blessing's value. The woman who remains steadfast in prayer, unwavering in faith, and committed to her purpose will overcome these trials. She will emerge stronger, more determined, and more prepared to receive all that God has in store. Gratitude and praise become her weapons in this battle. Before the blessing is fully revealed, she will learn to praise God in the waiting. This praise is not based on what she sees, but on what she believes. It is an expression of faith that unlocks the full power of the blessing. When a woman worships in advance, she aligns herself with God's will and invites His presence to fill her life. This posture of thanksgiving creates a spiritual atmosphere where miracles can flourish. It opens doors that no man can shut and releases favor that cannot be earned by human effort. Throughout this journey, the woman is transformed not just by what she will receive, but by who she becomes in the process. The blessing is a divine assignment that carries with it a new level of responsibility and purpose. She is being prepared to be a vessel of impact, influence, and inspiration to others. The big blessing is not just for her benefit. It is for the benefit of her family, her community, and generations to come. God's hand is upon her life, and His plans are far greater than anything she could imagine. As she moves forward, she will recognize these signs clearly: divine timing, preparation, transformation, confirmation, opposition, and praise, as markers of the blessing on its way. These signs are assurances from heaven that her breakthrough is imminent and that she is positioned to receive the fullness of God's favor. In the face of uncertainty and challenge, she will hold fast to these truths, knowing that her faithfulness will be rewarded with a blessing that is not only big but life-changing. Preparation precedes promotion. Before any great blessing is released, the woman is being equipped, her character strengthened, her faith tested, and her vision clarified, so that she can steward the blessing with wisdom and humility. This is a principle that cannot be ignored. No one receives a promotion without first going through preparation. It is a divine law woven into the fabric of life and destiny. God is not in a hurry to elevate her. He is meticulous in making sure she is ready. The preparation is not a punishment or a delay, but an essential season of growth and readiness. During this time, her character is refined through trials and experiences that teach her patience, perseverance, and integrity. She learns to walk in honesty, even when no one is watching. She develops a spirit of humility, understanding that true greatness is not measured by status or wealth, but by the way she treats others and handles responsibility. Her faith is tested in the quiet moments when hope feels distant and doubt tries to creep in. But in these moments, she chooses to trust God's promises rather than the circumstances around her. This trust builds a foundation that will support her when the blessing arrives. Her vision, too, is clarified in this season. The confusion and distraction begin to fall away as God reveals the purpose behind her journey. She gains clarity about her calling, her mission, and the impact she is meant to have. This vision becomes a guiding light that fuels her determination and directs her steps. She starts to see beyond immediate challenges to the bigger picture, understanding that every setback is a setup for a greater comeback. God's preparation also involves teaching her wisdom, how to make decisions that honor Him, how to manage resources with stewardship, and how to lead with grace. She is being equipped not just for personal success, but for kingdom influence. This wisdom is vital because a great blessing comes with great responsibility. It requires discernment to handle opportunities wisely and humility to remain grounded amid success. In this season, she also learns the importance of surrender, giving God control over her plans, desires, and timing. Preparation is often about relinquishing control and trusting that God's ways are higher than hers. This surrender is what positions her to receive the blessing fully and without resistance. It breaks down pride and self-reliance, replacing them with dependence on God's strength and guidance. The woman who embraces preparation understands that this time is sacred. She does not waste it on fear or frustration, but uses it to build her spiritual, emotional, and mental muscles. She invests in her relationship with God, surrounding herself with wise counsel and continuing to develop her gifts and talents. She sees preparation as a privilege, an opportunity to grow into the person God created her to be before the promotion comes. When the promotion finally arrives, she will be ready. She will walk into her blessing with confidence, not because she earned it by her own strength, but because she has been thoroughly prepared by God's hand. This preparation ensures that the blessing is sustainable and impactful, not fleeting or destructive. She will handle the blessing with the wisdom and humility that come only from being shaped by God's refining process. This principle of preparation preceding promotion is a key sign that God is about to bless her with something big. It is a season marked by intentional growth, tested faith, and vision sharpening. It is a sacred time that prepares her heart, mind, and spirit to receive and steward a blessing that will change her life and those around her forever. The process is as important as the promise. God's blessings are not just about the gift, but the transformation that happens within her. The woman who receives a great blessing is being shaped into a greater version of herself. Often, we get so focused on the promise, the breakthrough, the new job, the relationship, the financial increase, that we overlook the journey, the process, and the inner work God is doing in her life. But the truth is, the process is the crucible in which her character is molded and her spirit is refined. This process can be difficult, uncomfortable, and sometimes even painful. It involves seasons of waiting, learning, unlearning, and growing. The challenges she faces are not random obstacles, but intentional steps in the process of transformation. God is not only preparing to give her something new, He is preparing her to be the woman who can handle what He is about to give. Without this transformation, the promise could become a source of pride, complacency, or confusion. But through the process, she becomes a steward who carries the blessing with wisdom, strength, and grace. During this journey, she begins to shed old habits, mindsets, and limitations that once held her back. She learns to release control and trust more deeply, to lean on God rather than her own understanding. Her faith is stretched and strengthened as she navigates the unknown and perseveres through difficulties. The process teaches her resilience, patience, and perseverance, qualities essential to sustaining any great blessing. This transformation also brings a renewed sense of identity and purpose. She begins to see herself not just as she was, but as God sees her. A daughter with potential, a leader with influence, a vessel for greater impact. The promise may be big, but the woman who receives it is being made bigger on the inside. She grows in wisdom, compassion, and humility, qualities that no external blessing can give on its own. Moreover, the process shapes her perspective on success and blessing. She comes to understand that blessings are not just about receiving, but about becoming. She realizes that the true value lies not in what she gains, but in who she becomes through the journey. This shift in perspective is vital because it keeps her grounded and focused on what really matters, preventing her from being swept away by fleeting success or temporary gains. The process is also where her faith is tested and proven. It is easy to believe in the promise when everything is going well, but the process demands faith when circumstances seem contrary. The woman who embraces the process chooses to trust God's faithfulness even when the promise appears distant. This faith is a powerful force that sustains her through trials and positions her to receive the blessing fully. In essence, the process prepares her heart to handle the promise wisely. It equips her to be a blessing to others, to lead with integrity, and to use what she receives for a greater purpose. The transformation that occurs during the process is just as valuable as the blessing itself because it shapes her into a woman of purpose, power, and influence. So, when God is about to bless a woman with something big, He is already working deeply within her, transforming her from the inside out. The promise is coming, but the process is the divine preparation that ensures she will not only receive the blessing, but also become the woman God intended her to be through it all. Signs and confirmations will manifest in unexpected ways. God often speaks through subtle whispers, coincidences, divine interruptions, and even in the obedience to small things. These are the footprints of a blessing on its way. The woman who is about to receive something big will begin to notice that life is aligning in ways she never anticipated. Doors that once seemed firmly closed suddenly open without explanation. Conversations that appear ordinary carry hidden encouragements and instructions. These moments are not random. They are divine signals designed to prepare her heart and confirm that God is moving on her behalf. Often, these signs come quietly, almost imperceptibly, requiring her to be attentive and discerning. It is in the small, seemingly insignificant moments that God's voice is most clearly heard. A timely word, a chance encounter, or an unexpected opportunity might feel like coincidence to the casual observer, but to the woman who is tuned in spiritually, these are unmistakable confirmations that her blessing is near. This calls for spiritual sensitivity and a willingness to listen beyond the noise of everyday life. Sometimes God interrupts her routine in ways that shake her out of complacency. These divine interruptions are not inconveniences, but invitations to pay attention. They may redirect her steps, open her eyes to new possibilities, or bring people into her life who will play key roles in the unfolding blessing. These interruptions can be unsettling at first, but they are a necessary part of the divine choreography that leads to breakthrough. Moreover, obedience to small things becomes a critical sign. God honors faithfulness in little matters because it proves her readiness for greater responsibilities. When she obeys the small promptings, whether it is to speak a word of encouragement, make a difficult decision, or step out in faith, she positions herself to receive the larger blessing. These small acts of obedience are like planting seeds that will grow into the harvest she has been waiting for. It is important to recognize that signs and confirmations are not always loud or dramatic. They are often quiet and subtle, requiring patience and discernment. The woman who is about to be blessed learns to trust these gentle nudges and to move forward even when the full picture is not yet visible. She understands that faith often begins with a whisper before it is revealed in fullness. As she embraces these signs, her confidence grows. She begins to walk with expectation, knowing that each confirmation is a step closer to the fulfillment of God's promise. These signs strengthen her faith, encouraging her to persevere through challenges and to remain hopeful in times of waiting. In this season, God's fingerprints become evident everywhere, in the timing of events, in the people He sends, and in the opportunities that arise. The woman who is attuned to these signs understands that she is not alone. God is actively orchestrating every detail, guiding her toward the blessing that is already on its way. These confirmations are the divine assurance that her faith will be rewarded and that the breakthrough is imminent. Therefore, when unexpected signs and confirmations begin to appear in her life, she will recognize them as the unmistakable evidence that God is moving in her favor. These are not mere coincidences, but deliberate divine communications that signal a great blessing is about to unfold. Enemies will appear but will not prevail. As blessings grow near, challenges intensify, but they serve only to test and prove her readiness. The closer she comes to her breakthrough, the more opposition seems to surface. This is no accident. The enemy knows the power of what is coming and seeks to steal, kill, and destroy before the blessing can fully manifest. But these attacks are not signs of failure. Rather, they are proof that the blessing is real and powerful enough to be opposed. In the face of adversity, the woman who is about to receive something big must stand firm. She must hold tightly to her faith and refuse to be shaken by fear, doubt, or discouragement. The enemy will try to sow confusion and despair, but she understands that these are tactics meant to distract and derail her. Instead, she rises above the challenges, knowing that God's strength is made perfect in her weakness. Every trial she faces during this season has a purpose. It tests her endurance, refines her character, and solidifies her faith. The pressure she experiences is like the weight that forges steel. It makes her stronger, more resilient, and more prepared to handle the responsibilities that come with the blessing. Rather than retreating in the face of opposition, she confronts it with courage, prayer, and a spirit of victory. She also recognizes that she is not fighting alone. God is her shield and her defender, fighting on her behalf even when she cannot see the battle clearly. This assurance empowers her to keep moving forward despite the intensity of the attacks. The enemy may roar like a lion, but the woman who trusts God stands like a mountain, unyielding and immovable. In this season, her resolve is tested, but it does not break. Her faith grows deeper as she witnesses God's faithfulness in the midst of trials. She learns that setbacks are temporary and that every attack is an opportunity to demonstrate trust and obedience. This spiritual warfare prepares her to fully receive and steward the blessing with wisdom and strength. Moreover, the challenges sharpen her vision and clarify her purpose. They remind her why the blessing is so important, not just for her own benefit, but for the impact she will have on others. The enemy's attempts to derail her only highlight the significance of what God is doing in her life. Ultimately, the woman who stands firm through opposition emerges victorious. The enemy may try to delay her, discourage her, or distract her, but he cannot stop what God has ordained. She rises above every challenge, stronger and more determined, ready to walk into the fullness of the blessing that has been prepared for her. This is the mark of a woman who is truly blessed, one who faces adversity with faith, confronts opposition with courage, and refuses to let anything steal her destiny. When enemies appear, she does not cower, she stands firm, knowing that they will not prevail against the divine plan unfolding in her life. Gratitude and praise unlock the blessing's full power. A woman who praises before she receives demonstrates faith and positions herself to receive the fullness of the blessing. When she chooses to worship God in the waiting, before the visible signs of her breakthrough, she steps into a realm of supernatural favor. This kind of praise is not dependent on circumstances. It is an act of faith that declares, "I trust you, Lord, even before I see the outcome." It shifts her focus from lack to abundance, from doubt to confidence, and from fear to hope. Praise is a powerful spiritual weapon. It dismantles barriers, breaks chains, and ushers in divine intervention. When a woman worships in advance, she aligns herself with God's promises and activates His presence in her life. This presence is where miracles happen, where impossibilities become possibilities, where mountains move, and where the favor of heaven descends. Gratitude softens her heart and opens her spirit to receive more than she ever imagined. Moreover, gratitude cultivates a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. It rewires her thoughts to recognize blessings in the small things, which in turn prepares her for the larger blessings on the horizon. This attitude keeps her from becoming entitled or impatient. Instead, it nurtures humility and joy. A heart full of gratitude becomes a magnet for more favor and blessing. Praise also invites God's peace to guard her heart and mind during the waiting season. It strengthens her spirit against discouragement and anxiety, allowing her to remain steadfast and hopeful. This peace is essential because it sustains her faith and keeps her anchored when the journey feels long or difficult. When she lifts her voice in worship, she not only honors God, but also affirms her trust in His timing and goodness. This act of praise releases spiritual momentum, creating an atmosphere where blessings can flow freely. It is in these moments of heartfelt worship that the fullness of the blessing begins to manifest, often in ways beyond what she expected. Ultimately, gratitude and praise are the keys that unlock the door to her breakthrough. They position her to receive not just a portion of the blessing, but its fullness. The woman who learns to praise before she receives walks in a powerful covenant relationship with God, one that invites continuous favor, provision, and miracles. In this posture of praise, she becomes a living testimony of faith, inspiring others to trust God's promises even when they are unseen. Her worship is a declaration that the blessing is already on its way, and in this declaration, she activates the power to bring it forth into her life. As we reflect on these truths, remember this: God's blessings are never accidental, never random. They are the result of divine preparation, purposeful process, and unwavering faith. When God is about to bless a woman with something big, He is already shaping her, strengthening her, and positioning her for greatness. The signs are there, sometimes subtle, sometimes challenging, but they all point to one undeniable reality: her breakthrough is near. Stand firm in the face of opposition, walk boldly in gratitude and praise, and embrace the process with patience and wisdom. For it is through these things that the fullness of the blessing is unlocked and a woman rises, not just to receive, but to become all that God created her to be. Your season of blessing has come. Step into it with confidence, for the hand of God is upon you, and your destiny awaits.